Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. I am back on Facebook Live. So I want to do the same thing I did last week so that I can actually see the comments as they are coming in. I just finished up boot camp for the first week. It was so much fun. It was a lot of talking. We were on there for about 2 hours and we covered a ton. We talked today about why it's important to use your intuition, why it's important to raise your vibration, how to raise your vibration, a bunch of self-work. We talked about the shift that's happening right now. We talked about a bunch of stuff. I might have to consider moving these lives to a different part of the day or a different time while we're in boot camp, because talking for 2 hours and then getting like a 15-minute break from talking is a lot, but my vibe's up, so let's keep going. I'm super excited. So the same thing happened, I think last week or the week before, where it rained all day, and then as soon as I get on to do a Facebook Live, like the sunshine comes out and it's all beautiful. So what do I want to talk about today? I had originally planned to talk about spirit guides, well, spirit animals as spirit guides, but I'm feeling really pulled in a different direction, so I think that's where we're gonna go. Right now, you guys, we are in a time of massive transition. And I'm not like talking about, what's going on right now as far as the coronavirus or anything like that. I'm talking about our earth, our world, life as we know it is in the midst of a massive transition. And I guess we're talking about the shift today. I guess that's where this is going. If you have ever heard about the shift or the Great Awakening, that's what's happening now. It's been happening for like the last 10, 15 years, like slowly but surely. And you can see that because a lot more people have been waking up. A lot more people are more interested in knowing what else is out there. People aren't so interested in just taking what's given to them at face value. They're digging deeper. They want to know the truth. They want to know the truth of, they want to know their own truth. Like, what else is out there? Who else is out there? What are you not telling me? What can I see? And people are they're digging a little deeper. They want to know more. They want to feel more. They want to feel connected to something bigger than what they think that they are, because we're all connected. We're all one. We're all connected to source, but they want to feel that connection. And so this has started happening more and more and more over the past 10 years, and now we are in the midst of it. And as I was just talking in boot camp, the way that it's always been presented to me, which is very interesting, I've always seen this kind of diagram of like, here's one earth, here's the current earth, here's the new earth, and then when they start merging, it'll kind of create this Venn diagram. I've always seen that. But recently, and actually on today's call, it came through entirely different, where I was seeing our earth as it is, and it was kind of like dark and gloomy, and I was seeing these, storms and fires and things like that. And then I was seeing the new earth, and the new earth was so blissful and beautiful and vibrant and colorful. And here we are in the middle where the two are overlapping. And I think that hey, Rick, Rick, I want to acknowledge you. I got your email. I didn't have time to respond in between the boot camp and here. I'm going to email you back right after our live today. So we're in the middle. We are transitioning, and those of us that are willing to do the work, willing to feel into this, willing to accept spirit and the universe and, intuition and being led and just the divine, willing to accept that into our lives, we're going to navigate this change and this shift a lot more easily than those that are unwilling to do the work, unwilling to see the bigger picture, unwilling to see past perception. And so that's something that I wanted to acknowledge today, I guess. Like I said, my plan was to talk about power animals, spirit animals, but here we are. We're talking about the shift. We're talking about utilizing our vibration and raising our vibration So as we begin to raise our vibration, and the way you can do this is by meditating. You can do this by journaling, doing things that feel good, getting grounded, doing yard work. A lot of these things that we just talked about in the boot camp are coming up now because I feel like I need to share them with you guys. I feel like everyone needs to know that the more you get in touch with yourself, the more that you just flow, the more that you feel good, the easier all of this is going to be to navigate. So if you are sitting here and you're worried and you're rocking back and forth on your seat, like, what do I do? Where do I go? I'm so scared. I can't leave my house. Like, what is this earth coming to? That's fear, and you're in fear, and that's okay. A lot of people are right now, and I'm here to tell you we're gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this. We are transitioning. We are moving to a better place, a higher place. Life as we know it is changing, and we don't know what that looks like in the end right now. We don't know, and that is kind of an exciting thing. We are in really exciting times. Like, we are changing. Everything is changing. Vibrationally, everything is speeding up. So those of us that do meditate, our meditations are getting deeper. We're getting more out there, more exciting messages. Those of us that are giving readings, the information's coming in like this. Those of us that are sitting and feeling into what could be, when we actually choose, and here's an exercise that you can do. So you can take a deep breath when you're in meditation and let it go, and ask for your higher self to step forward. Ask for the archangels to step forward. Ask for your spirit team to step forward. And no, you don't have to see them or hear them while you're doing this, but just take a deep breath and let it go and say, show me what I need to see right now. Show me what I need to feel. What can you tell me about these times? What can you tell me about what's coming up? And then just sit comfortably and don't try to force anything. Just to observe. What do you start feeling? What do you start seeing? Where are you seeing yourself? And for me, even as I started talking about this right now, I just feel this like blanket of comfort coming over me, knowing that and then I look outside of my window and I see this big, bright red cardinal. So now I'm questioning, am I supposed to be talking about spirit animals? We'll see. We'll just see what comes up. We're just going to flow. And so as I'm sitting here, I'm just feeling like these are such exciting times. Like, people that have always wanted to dig a little deeper into themselves, they're getting that time. They're getting to do that right now. And people that have had experiences and questioned what's been going on with them, they have the time to research right now. They have the time to explore themselves. And you guys, you have the time to get to know yourself right now. That's something that I talked about in boot camp today too. Like, I did not know myself. When I started doing this work, I didn't even want to be alone with myself. I didn't want to hang out with myself. I always needed to be with a friend or a boyfriend or going to a show or doing something. I always needed to be doing because I didn't want to hang out with myself. And the reality of that I know now, I didn't like being alone with myself because I had to deal with my thoughts, I had to deal with my emotions, and I didn't know who I was. I was not my friend. I was hardly an acquaintance with myself, to be honest with you, because I was trying to just escape and run away and outrun myself. And you can't outrun yourself. You're stuck with you for the rest of your life. You might as well learn to love yourself, learn to accept yourself, and learn to be your own best friend, because you can't run away from you. I tried when I was younger. I tried so hard to run away from myself. And a lot of people that are very empathic, and a lot of people that take on, so a lot of people that are empathic or that have had a lot of experiences that they don't want to relive and they don't want to deal with, they run. And some people will run to substances. So a lot of very empathic people will develop or can develop addictions or addictive behaviors because, and I find this especially true. So unfortunately, I've had a lot of people in my life that are or have been addicted to heroin or really hard drugs, and people that I went to school with. Actually, I've lost a lot of people more then I can count on both hands, which is very tragic to me. And I've had people in my own family deal with these really, really deep addictions. And what I can tell you from that, and from working with spirit, and from giving readings with people that I don't even know, is that people that have these addictions, especially these really hard addictions, they are some of the most genuine, loving, deeply empathic people. And it may not show like that when they're in the midst of their addiction, because they've kind of pushed their higher self to the back burner because they were trying to run away. They're trying to outrun their emotions. They're trying to outrun their feelings. They're trying to numb. But the reason I'm telling you this, and this must be it for someone on this call, I haven't talked about this in so long. The reason I'm telling you this is because when someone is that empathic and they have that much heart and there's nothing they can do, or they don't have the tools to move through that trauma or to heal or to help others or to let go of the past or to understand that they're taking on the emotions of other people, they look for ways to take care of it, to self-medicate. And so a lot of very empathic people, a lot of big-hearted, loving, nurturing people that succumb to addiction are really just trying to outrun themselves. So this isn't about addiction, but I think it's very important to understand that we all in some way deal with our own traumas in our own way. And right now we are all supposed to be quarantining. We're all supposed to be staying in. We're all supposed to be slowing down. And so this is a great time to get to know yourself, to get to find out who you are. What do you actually like? What do you actually like to do? What sparks so much joy in you that you could sit down for a planning of 15 minutes and end up there for over 2.5 hours? Is it painting? Is it drawing? Is it writing? Is it meditating? What is it? What sparks so much joy in you that you can get lost in it? Do that thing. Start doing more of that thing. You will learn to meet yourself. Start doing more affirmations and looking in the mirror and trying to say, I love you. Start the things that you want to embody, the qualities that you want to have, and the things that you want to manifest, trait-wise. So confidence, loyalty, happiness, joy, kindness, whether you want to give those things, receive those things. Start creating affirmations and saying these in the mirror to yourself. It's going to feel like a lie at first, but then keep saying them and feel into them. And you will start to see like, oh, I'm becoming more confident. Oh, people are responding to me with more kindness. I'm responding to people with more kindness. I have more patience now. As you start to say these things, you start to reprogram your mind. You start to code, like we talk about computer programming, you start to code your mind to embody the things and the experiences that you want to have. So, in other words, take this time to slow down. Take this time to get to know yourself. So many of us do not know ourselves anymore. Like we just don't. And it's okay. I think everyone goes through that point where, we're trying to find and get to know ourselves. Luckily for me, I did that in my early 20s. Some people never do. Some people are born knowing who they are. It's just where you are in your life and the tools that you have. But that's why I'm here. I'm here today to give you some tools to learn to love yourself and to dig deeper within yourself. And with that is the exact lesson that I want to go into today, is how to dig up your pain points, dig up your trauma, and work more deeply with yourself, your higher self, and your inner child. So, So let's talk about that for a second. You don't have to be doing a massive amount of spiritual work to do this. All you have to do is have a willingness, set the intention, and create a little bit of space for this exercise. So this exercise actually found me somehow. When I was doing this work, I wasn't quite sure what I was doing yet. I wasn't sure what a higher self was, or a spirit team, or a spirit guide. But I was doing my affirmations, and that seemed to be working. and I was meditating, and that seemed to be helping. And everything, I was starting to go through my awakening, and I remember sitting down one day and I was like, just show me what needs to come up. So I sat in meditation. I had a notebook next to me, and I sat in meditation and I said, just show me what needs to come up. And so I took deep breaths, and all of a sudden I was just taken to a moment when I was 5 years old. And that was someone told me I was eating dinner, or I was supposed to be eating dinner, and I was like fighting with my parents about eating dinner, and he had just like hit the table and he was like, you are nothing. You will never be anything. You are nothing. And I know probably logically that he was just not choosing the right words and just wanted a little kid to eat their food. But as a 5-year-old, that really ingrained in me. And so every time that I would try to do something that I thought I could fail at, I would like see that moment. And it was coming up still in my 20s. And so sometimes in the past, I had used that where in my head, I'm like, no, you're wrong. And I would do the thing. And I think I talked about this before. I've always been really good at deciding that something was going to happen and then making it happen, even if it was years down the road. Like I have this, like, I'll show you kind of thing, but now I do that to myself. Like, I'll show you, girl. I'll show you we can do this. We're going to do this. And so I'm good at making a decision. But at the same time, those things that had still been coming up for me obviously needed to be dealt with. So I sat in that meditation and I was taken there. And then I just started crying, and I just hugged her, and I loved her, and I told her that it was okay, and I told her that she could come back with me, and I literally visualized adult me hugging little me and bringing little me back to me. And it was as if I placed her in a hole that was in my energy, and so that hole was filled. And then what I kept doing, so I was crying, and I was like, okay, and I was like bracing myself. So I was sitting on the floor. I still didn't know who I was talking to at that point. Now I know it was my higher self, but I'm like, all right, show me the next thing. What's the next thing that needs to come up? And so I was taken to another situation, and then I was crying my eyes out, and I was taken to another situation. And you guys, this was painful. And if anyone would have walked in that moment, it probably would have looked utterly ridiculous, because I was laying on my floor with a notebook next to me, sobbing, crying, like screaming at some points because it hurt. And I could feel all of the pain that had been shoved down for so many years coming up and coming out of me. Just like I was purging through my pores, through my tears, like screaming, just, it was all coming up and out of me. And yeah, it was painful. It was the deepest, most transformative self-work that I've ever done. And it was 100% necessary as well, because it changed everything for me. So I did this work I just allowed everything to come up, and it took, like taking her power back. Yes, exactly. So it was like I was taking my power back, but also it was me taking my energy back, because when we have very traumatic experiences or things that, don't even seem, as an adult, we're like, well, that's such a silly moment. Why is this coming up for me? Because you left energy there, because you were hurt. And if it's still coming up for you, no matter how insignificant it may seem to you now, no matter how much time has passed and this should have healed by now, this shouldn't bother you anymore, it's still coming up for you, which means that it still needs to be healed. It still gets to have attention. Your inner child, your higher self, those pieces of you, they deserve your attention. They deserve your love. And this goes for, as well, giving your power away, giving it to someone else. It goes for if you did something to someone else that to this day still haunts you, still hurts you, you get to go back to that scene and hug that person and say, it's okay. It's okay. You're not this person that you were. You're not this person anymore. You were someone else. You were figuring it out, and this was a lesson that you had to do, and it's okay. And I forgive you, and I love you, and I adore you, and come back with me now. And then you pull that piece back to you, and you put it back in your heart. And guys, you just keep doing this exercise over and over and over, and it may take multiple times to do this exercise, or of you doing this exercise with the same things that keep coming up, or different things. It's going to take a couple times, but you've got to do it. You've got to feel that shit. You've got to let it out. You've got to hug those pieces of you. And even it works really well to forgive other people as well. So this is really vulnerable of me right now, and it could get back to, the person that I'm going to reference, but I think that it's needed. I think it's a really good example because we can do this work, and it's easy to do this work with ourselves. It's easier. It's hard. It's hard work. It's traumatic work. It's draining. You will come out of this and you will feel exhausted. Like you've cried so much you want to sleep for 3 days, but it's healing, you guys. It's a detox. It needs to be done. If you don't let this stuff up and out of you, it will weigh on you. It will come out in your relationships. It will show up in the patterns in your life. It will come out until it will keep coming up. It will keep revisiting you in memories and dreams and situations until you are going to acknowledge it. Embrace it, embrace her, embrace him, whoever it is in those memories. Hug them, call that energy back to you. It's going to keep coming up until you're willing to heal it and let it go. And then you heal from it, and then you elevate, and then you feel better, and you are, all while you're doing this, you're cultivating a relationship with your higher self. You're saying, I love you enough to do this work. I love you enough to let you heal. I love you enough to acknowledge this, see it as the past, help you move from it, help you heal from it, and write a new freaking story. I love you enough for this. The work around yourself is easier than oftentimes, how do I want to say this? Hold on. There are 3 parts to this. The first part is doing this work, doing the inner child work that I'm talking about, allowing what needs to come up, what do I need to see, what needs to come up, what do I need to see, what do I need to heal, crying, writing it down in a journal, just this came up for me, and letting everything come up and not judging it. That's the biggest part. I need to tell you guys that. Don't judge it. No matter how small, no matter how large it may seem, don't judge it. If it's coming up for a reason. It needs to be healed, okay? Let it come up. Let it happen. And just let those feelings come up, and don't judge yourself. Don't say like, gosh, you're being such a wimp. Like this is so silly. Like someone took your lunch money in 3rd grade. Why are you still harping on that? Well, maybe if they took, this did not happen to me, but maybe if they took your lunch money and you felt bad about it, you felt like, oh, I'm not worthy or deserving of having money, or oh, I'm not worthy or deserving of having friends, or there's never enough, or whatever the case may be. As small and insignificant as it may seem to you as an adult, this is a spiritual situation, so allow it to come up and allow it to heal. That's the first part of it. The inner child, the past trauma work. When it comes to forgiving yourself with other people, that's a little bit harder, and you might have to sit there, and for me, that was the hardest part of it, was acknowledging how I may have hurt another person, because especially when you start doing this spiritual work, you see everyone as a soul. And so before, when you felt bad about it, or you kind of felt bad about it, now you really feel bad about it, and now you really don't want to look at it. You really don't want to deal with it. All the more reason why you should. You should dig deep in there. You should see like, okay, yeah, I did that, but that isn't even me anymore. And that was a really big shift for me, because when I was doing this work, I realized like, wow, this thing happened 6 years ago or 10 years ago or however many years ago it was. I don't even know that girl anymore. I'm not even that girl anymore. She would never do something like this. And so what that told me is, wow, she needed so much love. She needed love. And so in that visual, I will hug her and I will hold her and I will say, it's okay. It's okay. Just let it go. You didn't know who you were. You were looking for acceptance. You were looking for love, or whatever the case may be in your situation. Hug her. Tell her it's okay, and say, this isn't who you are, that's who you were, and look at who you've become, and look at how far you've grown, and look at all of the things that you have, and all of the things that you've done, and there are so many good things about you. And talk to that piece of you like you would talk to your own child or your own best friend. Start treating yourself like you treat other people. Start treating yourself like you fucking matter, because you do. So that's the second aspect of it, is forgiving yourself. That's a little bit harder than just going back and calling back your energy from other situations. It's a little bit harder because maybe you hurt somebody else, but you get to forgive yourself for that. And sometimes those are the ones that need a little bit more work and maybe like a cord cutting from the situation. The third leg of this is the one that I'm being extremely vulnerable about, is forgiveness for other people. And especially other people that have hurt you, or they even shaped your life, and you kind of can look at your life and feel like you can blame them for the way that your life turned out, or whatever your case may be. And a lot of people want to forgive. And when I coach someone, I always tell them on our first call, like, I know you're here for intuitive development coaching. We're going to do self-work, because you cannot have one thing without the other, which we just talked about in our intuitive boot camp. Like, if you're working with law of attraction, you're working with spirit. If you're working with spirit, you're working with law of attraction. Either way, you've got to raise your vibration, and the only way to raise your vibration truly, sustainably, is to be happy, find joy, find love within yourself, because external happiness isn't sustainable. So to do this, you've got to work on yourself. So it all comes back to working on yourself. And a lot of people see things that have happened to them in their life, and they take it personally. This person was out to get me because of this situation. My life looks like this now. I would love to forgive them, but how do you just forgive them? Or, no. Like, I've literally I have someone in my life who loves to hold grudges, and I'll say, why don't you just let that go? Like, let it go. It's been 10 years. It's been 15 years. It's been however many years. Let it go. No, I don't want to. Why? What is it doing for you to hold on to this? What is it doing to them to hold on to this? Do you think that you holding on to this, holding this grudge? No, me forgiving them means that I'm saying that everything that they did is okay. No, that's not true. You forgiving someone is letting them go free, and more importantly, letting yourself go free. Lifting a weight off of yourself, not carrying that burden around, not carrying that energy. It takes so much energy to stay in lack, to stay in pain, to stay in negativity. And we don't think that, because we are naturally at this point so programmed to see fear, to see lack, to see negativity, to not look towards the optimistic point of view, because then we get our hopes up. Then what if it doesn't happen? What if it's taken away? What if? And when we come back to negativity, there's that certainty, and we already know what that feels like. And though it's uncomfortable, it's comfortably uncomfortable. And so it's easier to stay there. It's easier to hate someone. It's easier to be angry at someone than to look at maybe what you did in the situation, or what you could have done in the situation, or maybe your life doesn't actually look this way because of them. Maybe partially, but I bet your whole life doesn't revolve around what this one person did. So some people like to hold grudges because it's comfortably uncomfortable for them, and they don't have the tools to work through it. So growing up, I was around someone who loved to hold grudges. This person says they don't love to hold grudges, but this person loves to hold a grudge. Loves to talk about people, loves to gossip, loves to hold a grudge. And when I started doing this work, I realized, like, that's so painful. Like, it just became painful to hold this energy, to bring up someone else's name and then have somebody else just automatically attack that person. Even though I didn't necessarily enjoy that person's company, I just started seeing people on a soul level versus a human level. And on a soul level, that was just painful. And so, I mean, it's more surface level, like watching the way that we talk, calling somebody stupid or an idiot, or being jealous of them, or, speaking poorly of someone. It just becomes uncomfortable when you start doing this work and you start raising your vibration and your awareness, even if they're not your favorite person. So here's my story. My parents had me very young. They had me at 18. My father was often not in my life, and he had addiction issues, and he just, he wasn't present. He was in and out of jail, and, sometimes it sucked. Sometimes it sucked. So eventually, so let me back up. What good came of it was my brothers, my sister, my stepmom. I'm still and always have been very, very close with them. I'm so grateful for them. I'm so grateful for him bringing them in my life. And that was my first shift. That was my first, okay, what positive can I find about this person? That was the first positive that I went to. So when I decided that I wanted to forgive him. So he was not invited to my wedding because of, his addictions. And understand, when people have addiction, they also can become narcissists. They also have a way of projecting onto other people to making other people feel guilty for the things that they do. And understand that has nothing to do with you. It's coming from pain. But I had so much anger and so much resentment, and not for the fact that he wasn't in my life. For me, it was more the pain that I saw on my family, my grandparents, my siblings, my stepmom, my mom, whoever. My anger came more from that than for me, because I was lucky. I had my grandfather. He helped raise me. I had a lot of uncles and stuff. It was good in that area, but so for him, I had a lot of resentment and anger. He was not allowed at my wedding, and then he made that about him in the moment. It was this big, huge thing. So when I started doing this work and I asked, what's one huge thing that's holding me back? Kept seeing my dad. I kept seeing my dad. I kept seeing him. And at the time, I believe he was in jail. I know I did one of these exercises, and he was actually in jail. And I was like, okay, well, I'm ready to let it go. I'm ready to forgive him. I'm just ready. It's too much anymore. I'm ready to go. Let it go. And so I sat in meditation, did the same thing. Show me what I need to see. Show me what I need to see. Fully expecting Spirit to take me to me. What did he do to me? That was where my mind was. When did he hurt me? When did he make me mad? When did he neglect me? That's where I thought I was going. That is not where I was taken. I was taken to, I saw my dad as a kid. And I saw my dad, the pain that he felt. So my dad was adopted. He was adopted by two wonderful people when he was a baby. I love my grandparents. But I don't know what that feels like. He was adopted, and I saw him as a kid constantly searching, constantly trying to fit in, constantly seeking approval, constantly trying to be funny, constantly just always searching, always grasping, always reaching for love, wanting so much love that he almost couldn't accept the love that was already given to him. And so in this visualization, I started to see him in an entirely different light. And then I saw him as a teenager, and then I saw him after he had me, and how that might have affected him. I can't imagine of having my kids at 18. I wasn't ready for that. And so how does that maybe stunt your growth, if you allow it to? I know everybody's in different situations, but how does that stunt your growth if you're already trying to process and find who you are and navigate all of these things, and then you're bringing a kid in on top of it? That's a lot of pressure. And so on a spiritual, and I'm not making excuses for him, you guys, but on a spiritual level, I started to see wow, he was a kid too. He was in pain too. He's dealt with things too. He wasn't just born my father. He was born a person, and he's dealt with a lot of abandonment issues, and he's dealt with a lot of heartache, and who am I to judge him? And so when you are given that gift of seeing someone in an entirely different light, you shift. You can't help but shift. And so in this vision, I'm now going into it expecting to see how he hurt me and how I can gain, how I can be right, in my feelings towards him, to me as an adult, as my higher self, nurturing his inner child, hugging his inner child, telling his inner child it's going to be okay. And, I kept doing this work, and I could keep going on, but it started to unfold and unfold and unfold. And as I'm talking to my mom or whoever, I'm like, yeah, I just forgive him. Like all of a sudden I just forgive him. And she's like, what? And my stepmom was happy because though they weren't together, she's like, I'm glad that you finally see this now, that holding on grudges isn't going to do anything for you, for the other person. It only hurts you. And so I got to this point where I forgave him. Did I accept everything that he did? Did I appreciate it? Did I approve of it? No. But was I able to also see, as I kept doing this journeying exercise, what it had done for me? It taught me to be strong. It taught me to be independent. It taught me to set boundaries for what I was and was not willing to accept in all of my relationships. And so that kind of made me, I shifted a lot. It had affected me in that way throughout my life, and I hadn't even realized it. Like as a teenager, you might not have wanted to date me because I wasn't going to put up with any crap. Like I was just very strong-willed, almost independent to a fault because of that situation. So I could look back, and you can do this with anything. I'm using me as an example. You can do this with anything. Look at how the person hurt you the most. What lessons did they teach you? What gifts did they give you? And thank them for that. You can actually thank them for that, and that shifts too. When we shift into gratitude, everything shifts. So as you do this exercise, you find that you can start to forgive them. And then, so what happened from there, it was like a month or two later, he actually reached out to me. He's out of jail. He's sober for a little bit. And then we talked, and, there was still that regular behavior of, well, you did this, well, you should and I just wasn't accepting anymore. I was like, no, but it's okay. Like, it's all right. You're fine. I am who I am. I'm grateful for the gifts that you've given me. And then there's a shift, like a back off thing. But I'm happy to say now that we do have a relationship now that we're years after that, but he's been sober for, I think, 3 full years. He's remarried. He is actively in our lives. And I would say he's one of my biggest supporters in my family of the work that I do without me having to sugarcoat anything. I can fully be myself around him. And so will it always work out like this? No. He's definitely more of a friend than a father, but it doesn't matter. We have both healed. We have both worked through things. And I think it's just beautiful when you can actually start to forgive someone and heal yourself along the way. So this exercise that I talk about is for deep healing work, deep inner child work, deep inner trauma work, for self-forgiveness, for forgiving other people. And all you have to do is set the intention, be willing, be open, sit down, take a deep breath, be willing to be fucking real with yourself and say, okay, higher self, spirit team, show me what I need to see. And then be willing to go there, be willing to feel it, be willing to dig it up, and then be willing to let it out. Thank you, Leslie. That's very sweet. And you're right too. You're absolutely right. And I've noticed that, with addiction and other things too, I think sometimes we experience just enough of one thing to be able to help other people with it down the road. But so with this exercise, be willing to dig it up, be willing to go back to that moment and observe, watch yourself in the moment, whatever it may be. Watch your inner child, watch yourself a year ago, a month ago, watch yourself, be willing to hold that person, love that person, and bring them back to you. Forgive them, forgive everyone sitting at the table in the situation, and just say, it's okay. It's okay to come home. It's okay to be whole. It's okay that you were hurt, but I'm here now, and I see you, and I love you, and I approve of you. Come back to me. And this is how we start approving of ourselves, letting go of resentment, healing, forgiving people, forgiving ourselves. And like I said, that forgiveness of yourself is a really hard one to do, but this is how we do it, guys. We venture back and we realize you're not the same person that you were a year ago, 10 years ago, yesterday, or even a minute ago. All you can do is be your best every single day. Choose to be better than you were the day before. Choose to see yourself as you are and accept yourself as you are and where you're at and what you're doing, and say, all right, well, this is where I am. And all I can do is my best. I only accept the best. I only give my best. I am deserving of the best. I am worthy of the best. And I love myself. So, yeah, so that's one of my deep cleansing, healing exercises. I hope you guys will take that and work with it when you're ready. It's not easy. It's not easy, but that work was extremely transformative for me, and I haven't gone back since I did that work. I see people as spirits now instead of humans, and I haven't gone back. If you want help with that, I would be happy to help you with it. I'm going to look at the comments now and see what I missed. So let's see. And I'll take any questions now too, if anybody has any questions. Yes, Rick, that sounds very familiar. Let me see. How come, why does it do this? I can't see all the comments. Okay, here we go. There's a comment. Here we go. You're welcome, Richard or Morgan. Sorry, y'all. I'm still getting the hang of this. Okay. So I'm going to move this a little bit so I can see my screen. Patricia, I'm trying to read your comment, but it wouldn't let me. So give me just 1 second. So thank you, Patricia, for sharing that. And yeah, it is scary. Doing this work is scary and it's hard. But just think of how much you'll be releasing yourself from this pain, and think of if he's still alive, think of how you doing this work, giving him the gift of forgiveness, whether he asked for it or not, which is one of the strongest things that you can do, will be for you. Think of what a gift that will be for you to be able to say to him, and what it will be for him to take with him, even if he's still in anger, even if he's still in fear, or if he never recovered from his addiction, and if he is past, then you can still say this stuff to him and you can still find closure. I've done so many readings where a loved one will come through and just to say their piece, just to say that they're sorry, and it's just so healing for the spirit and for the person, and then it's like the spirit just kind of levels up and just ascends even higher and higher because they've released that weight as well. So even when people won't apologize, even when they aren't acknowledging your feelings, which oftentimes that's what a lot of us just want, and that is what it was for me when my dad finally got sober and we had a heart-to-heart conversation. We started talking about being empaths and things like that, and he's like, I think that's always been me, I always felt like I wanted to rip out of my chest and rip out of my body, and the only way to kind of calm that down was to drink or use. And we just talked about, I forgot where I was going with that. I don't know. There was a really good point that I was making. I'm sorry. This is the problem with lives. But we had a talk and a heart to heart, and we realized that, that's what it was. So he said, he's like, he never really apologized. I never really got an apology. But what he did do was he finally acknowledged all of his behavior and how it must have affected me. And I think that's all I was ever looking for. I was looking to be seen. I was looking for my feelings to be acknowledged. I didn't need an apology because it is what it is, and it's the past, and he was going through his own thing, like I said, but being acknowledged, for him to acknowledge that for him to finally say, I had an issue, and then for me to hear, like, yeah, I should have shown up better for you. That's what I needed. So maybe you doing this work will give you the strength that you need just to say your piece and to be acknowledged. And if not, if you get nothing out of it from him, you did this for yourself, and it's a gift for him and it's a gift for you. And that's the whole thing that I was talking about. Like, yeah, it's hard to do this work. It's hard and it hurts. It hurts so much. But you purge and you let it go and you feel so much better, I promise. And you can always reach out to me and I'll help you as much as I can as well. So let's see. Oh, hey, Andre. Yeah, Angie, so the courage to do it is the scary part, like for all of us. And that's why when I sat down and I was like, all right, show me what I need to see, I just didn't expect half of the things to come up that did, but it's so freeing. It's so freeing. Like I built an entire course off of just this one lesson. And then I went into like the higher self and stuff. It's sacred self-healing if you want to look into it. But I built an entire course off of it because I was like, people need, and it was a live recording, people need to know how to do this work. And I've written a couple articles about it too, but I feel like until we're talking like we are right now, you don't really understand it. It's more of a feeling than anything you can ever just articulate. So I just want to say, like, yeah, it's scary. It's scary. Any change is scary. Letting go of anything, even if it's something that isn't serving you, it's that familiarity. So it's being comfortable with what's uncomfortable because it's familiar, because you know it. I do cord cutting sessions and I always tell people at the end, I'm like, listen, you're gonna feel like for a couple of days, you forgot something, like something's missing, because there is a weight that we leave behind when we drop this stuff and we just feel lighter, but we're like, something's missing, because it almost becomes a piece of you. And for many of us, it does. It becomes part of our, identity. There are people in my life that have situations happen to them 15 years ago, and they're still blaming that situation for where they are today. 15 years for where they are today. And now am I saying that those things didn't happen, they weren't significant? No, they absolutely were. But you have to choose to grow. You have to choose to change. If you don't get out of your comfort zone, nothing can change for you. Mentally, emotionally, you've got to put the work in, and it's hard. But I'm here to support you, and I know in my group there are other people that are there to support you. So we're all in this together, and we have the time, we have the space right now, and energetically, vibrationally, we have the support to do this now more than ever before. Thank you, Patricia. Aw, thank you. Let's see. There was somebody, okay. So Connie, I don't know if you're still on. I'm looking at your comment right now. So Connie, if you're on, I'm interested in your question because I want to know how you are knowing or how you are feeling that a lot of negative energies were attaching to you, or entities, okay, that were attaching to you. So you can always trust your angels. You can always trust your spirit guides. You don't have to be directly connecting with them to know that they're supporting you or to know that they're loving you. There's always support for you. There's always love for you, but you've got to ask your angels for that support. You got to ask your guides for that support because they don't want to scare you. They don't want to hurt you. So yeah, they're always around. They're doing little things, but they won't interfere unless you ask them to interfere. So get in touch with your angels, get in touch with your spirit guides simply by asking and trusting them. But if you're still on, I'd love to know who told you that you have a lot of negative energies or entities attaching to you, because generally that just doesn't really happen. That said, if you were maybe doing some spiritual work and you weren't grounding or protecting yourself and you're like just saying, whoever, whatever, come talk to me, I could see maybe having some kind of floating around your home or something. But really what happens, and I feel like I should just explain this while we're on the subject, so shifting gears back into intuition. If you are someone that's doing spiritual work, or you're interested in doing spiritual work, but you are fearful or you feel like there might be negative energies coming in, understand that we all have a light. And you can have energy vampires in spirit, just as you can have energy vampires sitting right next to you in the office or wherever you are. People can be energy vampires, spirit can be energy vampires. What they're both doing is they're just trying to take your light. They're feeding off of your light. Can they hurt you? Can they harm you? Usually, I mean, people can, I guess, but usually, no, they're not. What they want is what you have that they don't. So you have this light. They can see that light. They want that light. And that's what used to happen to me when I was, when I had my gifts. So all the way from the time I was a kid until I started doing this work in my early 20s, I would have like paralyzing nightmares. Like paralyzing nightmares was something like I felt like somebody was sitting on top of me. I learned to wake myself up and out of those. But what I came to understand, and I've done this work for a while now, and since I started doing this work, I will say this hasn't happened anymore. It went from every night to not at all. But what happens is we are this light in this lighthouse, and just like a bug to a bright lamp in the middle of summer, everything's gravitated towards that light. They want that light. They need that light. They're interested in that light. Can it feed me? What is it? And so if you have these gifts, then you are this light. You are a lighthouse. And so all the ships or all the bugs or whatever analogy you want to use, they're coming to you because they see that light. They want that light. They cannot hurt you, but they can drain you. They can drain your energy. They can make you feel moody, restless, negative, like angry sometimes. So think of it as being an empath to the extreme, okay? But what happens is when you say, I'm only willing to work with my spirit team, I'm only willing to work with those in the light, I'm only willing to work with my guides, my angels, anyone not on my spirit team is not allowed near me, not allowed near my energy, then that's who you start to work with. So you set up boundaries where you say, not all the ships can come in, only the ones that I want to come in. Not all the bugs are coming to the light, like only, so now I can turn, I don't know, like now I see the fireflies versus like all the bugs zapping to the light. I don't know if that made sense, but basically you want to call in who you want to be in your energy, and the only way to do this is by setting those boundaries. But we can do it with spirit too, and with people too, and we need to do that because we're all energy. And so we teach others how to treat us by the way that we treat ourselves. So if you're talking bad to yourself, you're saying you're worthless, like you're never going to get this, you always have bad luck, people are always shitty to you, then that's what you're going to see. You're going to have negative interactions, negative people, you're going to get a lot of bills in the mail, like whatever the case may be, whatever story you're telling yourself, that's what's going to happen. If you flip it and you say, I'm only willing to accept positive interactions that are for my best and highest good, I'm only willing to be kind to others and to have others be kind to me. If not, their energy just bounces off for the universe to take care of. You'll notice that these negative people aren't coming into your experience anymore. The people that you always have problems with, they're either shifting or they're just not talking to you anymore. Naturally and organically, things will start to shift. So when we set our personal boundaries, this starts to happen with people. When we set our spiritual boundaries, we're not getting woken up in the middle of the night. Weird things aren't happening in our house. We're working with our angels, with our guides, and we're seeing the bliss, the synchronicity, and the love. Hopefully that makes sense. Does anybody else have any more questions before I jump off of here today? Going once, going twice. Okay, y'all. Well, I love you all so much. I did mention that Sacred Self-Healing course, so if you want to check that out, it's a whole course on working with the higher self, the inner child, rewriting your blueprint, your blueprints and your stories to match what you want to see. That's on my website, lightloveandspirit.com. I will be here next Wednesday. If there's anything that you want me to talk about, drop it in the comments and let me know, because I'm just kind of flowing. Like I said, I was going to talk about spirit animals, power animals today, and then I get on and I didn't. I was guided to something else. So if there's anything you guys want or need from me, let me know. I'm just trying to serve and be here and commit to you guys to be here every Sunday. Or y'all, I've talked for 3 hours straight today. Every Wednesday at 2:30. So I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.